All right, good afternoon. I'm here to call the regular meeting agenda for the Planning Commission into order on February 19th, 2024. Determination of a quorum. We have 6 present with 1 absent. Mayor Ray Noes is sick with COVID, so he won't be joining us today. And at this time, I would like to ask everyone to rise and Mr. Sellers to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And hope everyone had a good President's Day. This time, read and approve the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission held on December 18th, 2023. It should note that the meeting from January was canceled due to weather. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion from Mr. Sellers, second from Mr. Rice. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstained? All right, minutes are accepted 6-0. Item number 5, general public comments on items not on the agenda. I'd like to invite any citizens that are here that have a concern that is not on tonight's agenda. They'll be given 3 minutes to speak, and please come forward now. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to reports of officers and staff. Mr. Rush.
We have none.
All right, that's simple enough. There is no old business, so we'll move into Section 8, new business. I'd like to ask that, since I think that the majority of folks are here for item number 8B7, that we move that to the front.
We're going to move to do the variance section first before this.
I'm going to do this item, then we'll recess and do the BOZA.
I think the appropriate thing would be to do the variance first, since it impacts the decision on that item. So if we do the variance first, address it, and then address the item in the agenda, then that will be the correct path to go down. Because if the variance is declined, it changes
I think we're
what
talking
happens
about 2
there.
different items.
Not different items?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, could you say what you suggest again?
I would like to suggest that we move item 8B7, ZMA 287, to the front of the
This one
agenda.
right here.
Okay.
Do I have a motion for that?
That's not that one. Okay.
Yeah, I'll motion to
I had a
do
motion
it.
from Mr. Hall, second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Item number 8B7, ZMA 287, a request to rezone the back portion of the lot located at 12709 Old Tullahoma Road from agriculture to R2. And the applicant is Mr. Joe Denby. I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward and speak on this.
I don't either.
My name is Andy Best. I'm representing Mr. Denby. I'm the land surveyor who did the survey on the property. What we are requesting is that the back 1/4, a little bit less than a quarter of the lot that he has bought be rezoned from A to R2. Just to give a little information about what happened in Franklin County several years ago, they made a decision to all along state routes, if it was agricultural land, 1,000 feet from the center line on both sides, they rezoned all that land from agricultural to R2. And this property is a little deeper than 1,000 feet, and so the back half is still zoned agricultural while the front half has been rezoned to R2. So again, we're just asking to get a complete R2 throughout the whole tract. So,
All right, thank you, Mr. Best.
thank you.
All right, I would like to note that this is a rezoning and not an annex. And this is a public hearing, so at this time I'd like to invite the public to come forward and speak on this. You'll be allotted 2 minutes. Ma'am, you're recognized. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Hammers. I live at 270 Lisa Drive. I live on the farm that has been in my family for over 35 years with the intentions to pass down to my children and grandchildren. The back of the property being discussed, purchased by Mr. Denby, joins my farm. There is 2 feet of my property on the Denby side of that fence. My father developed a subdivision in the area where there are valuable homes not sitting on top of each other with good-sized lots. And he also sold property to Dr. Gupta, which is farmed by the Hale brothers, with a stipulation, if sold, it would be 1 dwelling per 5 acres. With the development that Mr. Denby plans, I see a large drop in the value of our rural properties. But that's not my only concern. Rezoning to R2 would permit all housing types, which I've heard it will be apartments. I think we are pretty much aware of the type of houses Mr. Denby is partial to building, and this would be many, many people coming into our neighborhood. I am opposed to the rezoning, especially without the knowledge of the people that have infiltrated our country, which is over 10 million at this time, and they are being dispensed to different states. And the way the government's taking care of them, I would like to know who will be in all these houses or rental property that Mr. Denby is popping up everywhere. All these houses or apartments means many, many more added to the community. My grandchildren can run all over the back of the farm without fear, but a development like this will change all that. What about the schools that have way too many kids per teachers now? They are coming into our schools now, 3 or 4 new children a week, and most do not speak English. That isn't meant to be cruel, a cruel remark, just a fact. Our volunteer fire department has not even been notified of these plans. Wouldn't it have been a little more ethical if Mr. Denby had approached bordering neighbors and talked to them about his plans, as it would be a major change to the area?
All right, thank you, Ms. Hammers. Your time has expired.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Hi, I'm Susan Solomon. I live at 897 Turkey Creek Drive. Our property joins up to the back of where Mr. Denby bought. We have 3.5 acres. We are concerned about our property value. We do know the kind of homes Mr. Denby builds. As a matter of fact, my son lives in one, and he's had several problems. I won't go there, but anyway, we're concerned about what will be put there. Apartments, duplexes, who's going to live there? Are they going to be sold, rental? Background checks, will this be done on the people? We also have a problem with the water that runs off his land. He has a pond there that he's trying to fill up. I've got pictures of how it runs in our land and our field, and it just sits. What's going to be done about that? Other things, septic tanks. Is it going to perk? Where's the sewage going to go? None of these questions have been answered. I agree with Ms. Hammers. He should have came to us and let us talk to him about some of our concerns. Fire hydrants. Our homeowners insurance is going to go up. If they're not, will Tullahoma Fire Department be able to come help? Because our North Lake Fire Department, they don't have enough right now that can handle fires. I'm also worried about the traffic. Highway 130 has gotten to be awful. When you pull out to try to get on there, I wait every morning at 7 o'clock trying to go to work or to take my granddaughter to school. And it takes me a good 6 to 7 minutes to get pulled out. That's going to add extra traffic. Has anyone ever thought about doing a traffic survey out there before this? Water lines. Some of these homes have been out there a long time, and I know from one lady that the property adjoins that the water lines were put into hers in 1961. That's
Right.
going to overflow.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon. Your time has
Thank
expired.
you.
My name's Olivia Pate, and I live at 12750 Old Tullahoma Road. So, just for history, I bought my house back in the spring of last year. I've lived on a farm. I've lived in the city of Knoxville, the city limits of Tullahoma, and I now reside on Old Tullahoma Road. So the whole purpose of me moving out of the city limits into this area was to get away from the noise, traffic, and increased crime that comes with living inside the city limits. I wanted to have more peace and quiet from the city and have some land for myself, since I'm used to having land after growing up on a farm, and I finally was able to take time to buy a house of my own after saving up for years throughout my nursing career and just finished taking care of my sick brother who had cancer the last 2 years. This road is residential and has many residents here that have lived here for many years prior to me buying a house. It is its own community. Having a new subdivision or even apartment complex would increase the traffic to an already busy road where the speeding is a big issue and the noise as well that comes with that. 2, it'll increase wrecks in front of my house. There have already been 2 wrecks in front of that house even before I bought this property, one hitting the front and the whole brick had to be resurfaced. I would not be able to pull out of my driveway either safely on 130 because the turn in this property for rezoning is right across from my driveway. This would also increase the noise level and potentially increase the crime rate in this area depending on what Mr. Denby decides to throw up there. 5, it may increase the taxes on all of our houses in this area as well. Basically, in conclusion, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everybody else here, but I'm personally tired of people being so greedy that anytime there's a lot of land that is up for sale, they buy it to throw up spec homes so they can have more money in their pockets, not even taking pride in the quality of the houses they build. It is so wrong on so many levels how doing this will affect us middle-class people in this neighborhood who are working hard to make a living and take pride in where we live and our own property, only for someone to come in and create more hardships on us, getting to and from our houses, lowering the value of our property, and reducing the quality of this neighborhood that has stood strong for decades before Mr. Denby bought this land. We do not need Tullahoma becoming overpopulated and a mini Nashville or mini Murfreesboro where it is nothing but concrete.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pate. Anyone else wanted to speak on this?
My name is Dennis Sides. I live at 1005 Turkey Creek Drive. My property backs up to the back corner of that property that it's up for rezoning. The lots and acreage between each of our neighbors makes living here nice and quiet and peaceful. My wife and I bought here 8 years ago because of the country living style, and if we had wanted to live in or near a subdivision, I would have bought property in a subdivision. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Size.
George Wilson, 48 Albemarle Drive, Tullahoma. This is more of a general comment than a specific one, but it has to do with all of the things on the agenda tonight. As always, we deal with both philosophical and functional things, so let me talk about some of the functional things. You currently have an opinion in front of you from an attorney that basically says once you adopt the comprehensive plan, that everything that you do is moot, that it has to go by the plan. Nothing could be farther from the truth. While y'all, as an administrative branch, has some limitations, the BOMA, as a legislative branch, has all kinds of power. The comprehensive plan itself says, quote, will serve as a guiding document, not an obligation. The land use plan states the pattern shown on the map is not inflexible. Also in the plan it says general government states the government which plans in response to the community's social and physical needs. Everybody here is for those. The power of the BOMA to alter or to affect zoning has been tested, and it's gone all the way to the Supreme Court. This was a case in Deckard, where Deckard refused to rezone a property. They were sued, and basically what the Supreme Court said was that the objections taken into account by the Deckard Community Council were additional pressure on already crowded schools, impact traffic in the area that was already congested at peak travel hours, density that made it incompatible with neighboring properties, and a great number of persons in the adjacent community opposed to the rezoning. For those reasons, the Deckard community, I think theirs is not a BOMA, but the equivalent of their BOMA refused to rezone the land. They were sued, they won. So while the Planning Commission may have some limitations as an administrative body, the BOMA has the power to follow the wishes of the people and to do what's best for the city, not what's best for the developers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Doak. I live at 943 Turkey Creek Drive. I wasn't going to get up here. I've got nothing particular to say other than we don't have anything against the Denbys. I think they're probably fine people. I don't know them, and they're just out there like the rest of us. They're trying to make a living. But when them making a living is encroaching upon our property values and stuff, and you all know that property values right now are a thing, and houses are a thing. We understand that. But at the same time, too, his progress is going to lower our property values. We almost know that without, because we've got older homes there, but they're all nice, and they're all nice big lots, All the neighbors, I've lived there since '95. I have never once had to lock my doors, never take the keys out of any vehicles. We've got no crime in that neighborhood whatsoever. And we're not saying that his homes will bring crime, but there's a better chance of it. Because when you build a particular type of home, lower income, people on subsidies are the ones that get these homes. And they're almost like transits coming and going. And just like Mr. Dennis said, his shops, my shops, are right at the back of the property with no protection whatsoever, and would be almost in the front yard of all these houses. Plus there's septic and stuff, that they run or will have to run for it. All that's going to be an issue for us. Please don't let your decision hurt us. And even though a lot of the people aren't speaking, just like me, I didn't want to speak. How many of you, by show of hands, are here against this? Our whole community. So
Sarah,
please
please.
don't go against the people. You wouldn't want somebody going against you if it was encroaching upon your property. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Doak.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Hutchins. I live on Blue Creek Road. I have lived in this area. I grew up in this area. I have lived in this area for 58 years. My parents had owned land there. I still have part of their land. It's divided between me and my sister. We do not need more developments because there's already too much out there now. What's it going to do to our water system? The fire department. Tullahoma has tried to annex out there years and years. And it has always been voted down because the people out there do not want to be in Tullahoma city limits. Nothing against y'all for living in Tullahoma city limits, but we do not want to be in Tullahoma city limits. We do not want to be affected by Tullahoma city limits. We want to stay in our community with our county lines. We do not want to be in Tullahoma. We don't want this rezoning because he's buying up swampland that is going to affect every other land around it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. I'm Sharon McGowan. I live on 130, just right up the road from this rezoning thing.
Need your address.
11641 Old Tullahoma Road.
Thank you.
I am also I've grown up there. My mom and dad owns property there. I was born there. So I have lived in this area all of my life. I have watched different developments come in there. I've watched houses come up. We need our properties. We need our land. Schools are too crowded now. The fire department do everything that they can. They're only a volunteer fire department. We don't have the funds and the ability to do better. Our community is our community for a reason. We all know each other. We all know if this one's sick. We try to help. But with this rezoning and you bringing in more people, it's crowded enough. The traffic is terrible. The wrecks on that road, it's awful. People don't listen. They don't do the right thing by following the law. You bring in more people, what's that going to do? You're smothering out the people who have been there all these years. And we deserve that land. We deserve what we have worked for. That is art. We shouldn't have to worry about the pool of water over here coming onto our property. We shouldn't have to worry about, well, where's the septic tank going? How's it going to perk? I agree with that. But why push us to the limit in this little community? We want to keep Center Grove. Center Grove. We don't want to be Tullahoma. We don't want to be Estill. We don't want to be Winchester. We want to stay Center Grove community. And that whole place out there, we all deserve that. And our property is ours. We shouldn't have to worry. New developments, I understand we want to keep up with Murfreesboro or Nashville. That's not us. When you're overcrowding us, we're doing all we can do. This is not helping us. This is hurting us. And I hope that you really can take that in consideration. This land is to be rezoned into Tullahoma. It's just not what all of us want as a community. And we want to stand up as a community, sir.
All right, thank
And
you.
we hope that you listen to every one of us.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cowan.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Maureen Burke, 107 Breckenridge Road, Tullahoma. Just a general comment. I echo what these other people have said. I keep hearing we need more housing. I understand. I worked at the base. New people coming in. We have 1,200 at least units on the books right now that are being built. So just keep that in mind. Those have not even considered the current infrastructure. So I think we need to stop, slow down, and think about this more carefully. Also, I would ask the Planning Commission to consider how you give notice for rezonings, because this last one was only given 5 days notice with the signage and no notice to neighbors, and we need to do something better about letting people know when they're talking about taking agricultural land and converting it to R1, because R1 is not low density, even if the words say that, because R1 allows you to put quarter-acre lots with 1,200 square foot houses on those. So that's my request, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Burke. Anyone else wishing to speak on this?
My name's Lisa Womack. My family and I own 3 properties.
What is your address, Ms. Womack?
12795 Old Tullahoma Road, 863 Turkey Creek Drive, and 839 Turkey Creek Drive. There's not much else I can say that all the community has not already said, except for the fact that we are totally against this as well. Our property is one lot over from the site that is planned on being rezoned. My husband's family has been here for over 50 years. His grandparents built a lot of these houses. My kids has grown up here. Our property plans on being turned over to our children when we pass away. The last thing my kids need is more housing where they can't see or do anything that they want to do with their children when they have children. We're totally against this, and I hope y'all see it fit to leave our community alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name's Greg Burt. My wife and I, Thesa, live off of Gordon Neck Road. We're just a couple of spots away from where this proposed development's going up. We've been out there for about 12 years. We moved out there. We like the quietness. We like the rural area. And we just are opposed to the rezoning of a subdivision. Where my concerns are is the infrastructure. Our water pressure at best is marginal at our house, and you're looking at off of Center Grove, so you're looking at having to spend additional monies to upgrade that. Who pays for that? Also, the bigger concern from a safety standpoint is that off of 130 between the intersections of Turkey Creek and 130 and Gordon Neck and 130, I can't tell you how many accidents have occurred on that road. It's just people being careless, whatever. But it's it's quite a few accidents. And now you're looking at right in the middle of that, between those two intersections, putting in a subdivision. So I'm concerned about the safety. I'm opposed to this primarily because I like the rural area, I like the quietness and so forth, and I think by putting this in here, you're just going to open up Pandora's box for future developments to come in and so forth. So that's where we stand, and I appreciate the time to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to come forward or wanting to come forward? All right, at this time I'll close the public hearing and move over to staff comments. Mr. Rush.
Thank you, Alderman Chair. It's located in the UGB of Franklin. Total size is 6.54 acres. 5.18 acres are already zoned medium density residential R2. 15 years ago, Franklin County made the decision to rezone all properties located along state routes from R1 to R2, and that's within 1,000 foot of that state route. What is it, on page 102, you can find the uses permitted, 102 to 103. It does not mention apartments on that. Just want some clarification. There's no planning reason not to rezone the 1.36 acres in the back, since it is already touching R2 zoning. It's got 120 foot of road frontage. Full decision is Franklin County's. We can send a favorable or unfavorable, but they can choose whatever they want to do. We cannot forcibly annex anyone out there. You have to actually want to be annexed into the city. It has to make sense and has to join what's already in city limits. Based on all staff findings, staff recommends send a favorable recommendation to Franklin County.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, this time we'll entertain a motion. All right. Hearing no motion, the item dies. Is that correct, Mr. Worsham? No motion kills this.
If there's no motion, it just dies.
Okay. All right. All right. Hearing no motion, this item is closed. Thank you all for your time. And at this time, I would like to recess the Planning Commission meeting. And
you want to pause for like a minute just to let them know?
Yeah, we're good.
Without recommendation.
I'm sorry.
Probably is.
All right, we're going to pause for a second, let everyone clear out. If you would please exit if you're leaving, or.
Hey, Charles.
Are these mic? Are we? Can they hear us?
Anyone? They're saying they can't hear anything we say out there.
We tested all the mics. Everything works up here.
It sounds.
Can they bump up the volume, maybe?
What, outside?
Or no, not outside, but like on that side of the room.
They have it as loud as the
Okay.
Yes.
It will just go straight.
Check.
Test.
Check.
Thanks for coming out. All right.
Test.
All right. I'd like to ask everyone to please clear out so we can resume this. If we.
Thanks the world of you.
Where's her?
Get off my head.
Yeah. Maybe that's why somebody had much near them.
Marvin's gonna go through.
Mr. Quick. Mr. Quick. Can you get them to close the door? Could we close the door?
He's doing it.
All right. At this time, I would like to call to order the Board of Zoning and Appeals regular meeting agenda on February 19th, 2024. First item on the agenda is to read and approve the minutes of the December 18th, 2023 meeting. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for that.
Motion approved.
Motion from Mr. Sellers.
Second.
Second from Mr. Rice. Any discussion on the minutes? Call the vote. All in favor of the minutes as written? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right. The minutes are approved 6-0. Seeing no old business, new business, variance is A, 4A1, variance 237. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the building setback line where the T-dot right-of-way extends into the site from 35 feet to 0 feet, and a reduction in required medical office parking requirements from 6 per 1,000 square feet to 5 per 1,000 square feet. The applicant is Mr. John Richard Patterson. I would like to invite the applicant to come forward and speak on this.
Good afternoon, John Richard Patterson, Kimley Horn. We're requesting two variances today for a project you'll hear on rezoning here in just a minute. You mentioned two variance requests. The first one is for the 35 to 0 foot setback. If you look at the site plans that were included, TDOT encroaches into our site to create a drainage area, and so adding the setback to that encroachment just further impedes the site, and the rezoning request still follows the intent behind the setback. And then the second one is for the parking reduction from 6 to 1,000. The proposed use doesn't really require that much parking, so it'd be over parking it to require that much. So happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you.
All right. This is a public hearing, so I'd like to invite the public to come forward and speak on this matter that are interested. You're allotted 2 minutes. All right. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Yes, the applicant is requesting from the TDOT right-of-way for drainage from 35 foot to 0, as well as the parking requirement from 6 per 1,000 square foot to 5 per 1,000 square foot. Both are reasonable, and based on staff findings, we recommend to approve the request.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve from Mr. Sellers.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hall. Discussion on this?
We have the authority or a DOT right of way to make an exemption on that.
Yes, you do. It's just from our front setback requirement of 35 foot from North Jackson, we can decrease that to 0.
Okay. Definitely for the reduction in the parking. There's more area of the lot covered with parking than there is the building itself. I think we could go even lower if we wanted to.
That's what I was going to ask as well.
That was the middle ground. If we want to go lower, we most definitely can, but I think myself and the applicant kind of agreed on that since it was kind of the middle ground. But I know there's future expansion required, so they need to do a little bit more parking if they're actually going to build there again.
Okay. Mr. Rush, one of the things on the kind of the topics of discussion in general was the, kind of like parking restrictions and things about the, I guess the environmental considerations that are new this year. to reduce parking or reduce minimum parking and stuff like that. Is there any way we can get that and looked into from this board?
Oh, we most definitely can. I'll get something in front of you guys.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other discussion on this? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the approval of variance 237, based on the findings and facts as presented in your packet? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, new variance 4A2, variance 238. The applicant requests a variance from the future land use map for the city of Tullahoma. The variance would change the classification of R1 to R3. This variance is for future land
C3.
classification. I'm
C3.
sorry, yeah, C3. Thank you. This variance is for future land classification for this parcel of land. A rezoning application would have to be submitted to rezone the parcel officially and be based on this variance if approved. The applicant is Mr. James Sherrill. At this time, I'd like to actually invite Mr. Sherrill up, but I'd also, Mr. Rice is going to recuse himself of this vote.
Do I need to say anything on that?
I think that's good.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Sherrill.
So this property has been in my wife's family's land for well over 100 years. The property was pretty much encumbered by Camp Forest when it came in. It was a greater lot. We've actually offered it to several businesses here in Tullahoma to develop or whatever they want to do with it. At this point, we just ask that it be classified as C3, so maybe we can have a better general way of selling the property with it going commercial that way.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sherrill. This is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time and speak on this. All right. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move on. Mr. Yarborough.
My name is Jim Yarborough. I'm at 202 Cobb Road. I'm the corner lot of Cobb and Stewart, right across the street from it. So the biggest issue we have on my lot, and is also on y'all's water maps and shut off, is water usage. If y'all develop that into anything commercial, there's going to be tons of water dropping on my property because there's only 2 spots on that whole road. All that water sheds across Pepsi and my yard. It's been like that since the 60s. Y'all's engineers came and told me that y'all can't do nothing. That's where I got this. After that, I found out y'all started adding this to y'all's website because I had no idea about this. Nobody did. 8 years ago, y'all started doing this. So all I'm asking is please leave it residential. If y'all do build anything, put houses. Concrete, all it's going to do is make so much water into my yard, it's going to flood everything out. I have about 3 other properties that will be flooding out too. And it also goes to Denby's area, y'all approved years back, all that water be shedding off onto his that y'all are able to say he can develop. So where all's that water going to go? There's nowhere for it to go except for mine and Pepsi. Please keep it residential. I mean, it's a family area. That's why we grew up. That's why my kids are growing up. That's why we love it, that area. Pepsi's one thing, they're quiet. CFC, they're throwing trash behind that property right now. They're using it as a holding lot for trash. That's why trash bags are sitting right there beside the water tower every morning. You will see trash trucks dropping trash back there and storing it until they're able to take it to Richardson's. A lot of stuff's going on over there no one knows about. So please keep it residential.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this?
My name is Michael Riddle. I live at 102 Cobb Road, and I do not want it to be rezoned. I don't want to live next to a liquor store or any other business, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Madeline Mahon. We live at 210 Cobb Road. We just bought our house in October. I do want to reiterate of something that was said previously, that your notification process is poor, because we got the notification in January, but then whenever we were re-notified, it was sent to a woman that does not live there anymore because she is not alive. And whenever I asked about that, they were like, oh well, and that was it. We bought the house because we like the quiet. And no, it's not too quiet, but also we don't want some weird commercial property coming up. You know what I mean? People fly down that road anyway, all the time. You can't walk down that road because someone will hit you. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Truin, and we live off of the Old Manchester Highway right across from the property that they're looking to rezone. I had heard that they were planning on putting
Can I get your box number, sir?
I'm sorry?
Can I get your box number?
Box.
What is number?
61 Poplar Lane.
All right, thank you.
We own Poplar Lane. I had heard from some people that they were planning on putting an incinerator out there to burn trash. And my question is, what's that going to do to our area? I'd like to know what they're going to use that property for, and what effect it's going to have on our property values and also just on our way of living out there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I could answer that question. I've got a gentleman that's looking at buying this piece of property. That's why we're trying to get it zone C3. It is still going to stay residential as far as houses coming in there. As far as I know, there's no kind of commercial incinerator or anything of that sort going to be put on that property. That's part of the specs that we've come up with.
Thank you.
I'm Gentry Dameron. I own the property over on the Old Manchester Highway adjoining the MacArthur place. And that's my concern. I want to know what you want to zone it C3. What's our intentions of it? Is it going to be businesses, or is it going to be small apartment-sized houses, or is it going to be residential? I'm not going to change mine. Mine's R. I'm in the R rating, and I'm sticking with it. I ain't got no intention of selling it, and I want the people here to know it. I've got it for rental property. I've had a bad accident, and I've had to put my one house on hold, and I want to rent the other one. It's a matter of keeping it resident, and I'm going to tell you, there's a whole lot of water goes through there. If you don't believe me, just go down my property. I got a ditch behind going across my property, trying to get the water out to the road. So, and I'm joining it. So where's all that water going to go? They can't keep the ditches clean enough on the Old Manchester Highway to keep the water from going down it now. It plugs up, it's running up. I've had a car wreck in front of my house. The vehicle, about 3 years ago, wound up in the yard. So my concern is what they really want to do with it, you know. So, thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
My name is Samuel Gerard, and I live at 206 Cobb Road. And to just say a few things. First of all, if 202 is getting flooded, my backyard is getting flooded. 202 Stewart. My backyard is getting flooded. But I don't have to worry about my goats anymore because they're gone. But if I wanted to farm, and that 2 acres I have back there, it's going to be flooded. I understand. I have been, when I moved into that property, it was considered to be a farmland. And so I treated it as such. I got 12 walnut trees. I got a small garden. I had goats. Mr. Worship, I don't have goats anymore. So I wanted to live that type of lifestyle. After retiring from the military, I said, I want to farm a little bit. course, I grew up farming, but I never raised any animals. So I enjoyed the 22 years I've been there. It has not been a whole lot of traffic, hasn't been a noisy neighborhood. I think we've been blessed, but I don't know what the future looks like for my son or my grandson going forward. But I envision if they put something over there, concrete, as he was mentioned a few minutes ago, that since I live on a slope, not only is it going to hit my backyard, but it's going to erode my front yard, and it's going to slint, or it's going to descend back to the 2.5 acres. I already have a ditch there, trying to get the water out, going back to Ms. Denby's property. But I'm pretty sure that if he put some apartments back there or something, that all be taken care of. I'm just assuming now. Don't mean it's going to be right. I just hope that we do the right thing here as we look forward to the future of Cobb Road.
All right. Ma'am, you're
I'm
recognized.
Deborah Trulin, and I reside at 61 Poplar Lane. Our property is across from the MacArthur property. I'm third generation on that farm. I grew up there. My daughter will eventually get it as well, making it a fourth generation. I've lived there all my life, except for working in Nashville for several years, but I just recently retired, and my husband's been at the home place for several years now, and so that's where we will be until we die. I've seen a lot of changes over the years in that area, not good changes. It seems that every time someone passes away and the land goes up for sale, someone comes in and will either put truck trailers right next to you, or a big garage building or something that takes away from that area and devalues the rest of the folks' property that still lives there. Most of my neighbors are still second and third generation folks, and they'll pass it on to their kids as well. We live in that area because we love that area. It's still farmland country to us. The folks on Cobb Road, I know for a fact they do have problems with their flooding. You can see it. Every time there's a heavy rain, you can see it. I've had friends that I grew up with when that development was new on Cobb Road, so I know that area very well. So I hope you all will reconsider, not make it commercial. Even residential, we don't know what a developer will come in and put in, whether they'll put just, small crappy houses like we've seen along the way, or apartment buildings, but definitely we don't need commercial, and especially on that small road. I thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm Tracy Luna. I live on 301 Stewart Street, which is close by. I'm not prepared to speak. A few of our neighbors on Stewart Street just came just to see what was going on, and I don't even know what we're talking about here. I mean, you never mentioned 2502 East Lincoln just then, as far as I know. I don't even know what. So how can you pass it and not even have a presentation of what they're thinking about? I mean, it seems kind of odd to me. So I mean, I'm here to hear the plan of what they have in mind, and my concern down close to the railroad tracks, close to if it's connected to CFC or something like that, or are they going to have traffic coming behind the water tower? Because I have seen commercial trucks come through there, and I don't trespass and go back there, but there's something back in there. And does this land connect to that road, gravel road behind the water tower? Is that going to be big trucks coming through there? If it is, it's going to be a problem. That's a whole different issue. So I would just request that you give us some more information, because I don't even, to me, it just doesn't seem right if the guy doesn't come here and discuss what he has in mind. I mean, that's a pretty big hunk of land, and it's a pretty busy area, and a lot of people close by. And a lot of people are very happy with the way they live. So I had no prepared remarks, but pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. My name is Nicholas Northcutt, and I'm the surveyor that is representing Mr. Sherrill on this. We're just requesting this variance to try to get the C3. We feel like it'll be a good fit, seeing as how there's commercial right across the highway. We're right next to the railroad. You've also got the Pepsi plant there. Certainly to hopefully quell some of the concerns of local people. There is also the opportunity, of course, for residential in a C3. And it also goes without saying to address any drainage concerns that y'all might have. Of course, any new development has to address those concerns, and any kind of development that you put there could potentially help some of the issues that these folks are suffering on the other side of Cobb Road, potentially. Most of the time, my clients, where they see an opportunity to help and they can do it, they like to try to do that to help their neighbors. So anyway, we are requesting that y'all grant this variance and help Mr. Sherrill realize the full potential of his property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to your point, buddy. Talking about Steve trying to change it. See one.
Sir, your time's expired.
What?
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Hey,
You are not recognized. Thank you.
why?
Because your time is expired. You've already spoken on this matter.
Well, I'm just wondering, he's talking about C3 trying to describe, you describe C3 to
C3 is neighborhood.
small apartments, can small apartments be put on?
That, I was actually going to address that, Mr. Rush, if you could speak into the record of everything that would be involved in the C3.
Let's keep this in order. Let's public hearing. Sir, you are not recognized. We'll address what is C3 in a minute. Thank you. This is a public hearing. If anyone else would like to come forward and speak, please do so.
Well, I got a question for you.
All right.
I'd like to, Mr. Worsham, am I allowed to speak as a business owner, not as a chairperson, since I've recused myself?
Yes, you should recuse yourself if you own it.
I've already recused myself
All right.
from this, since I own property next to it.
He's asking to speak as a citizen.
Yes, sir. Yes, you may speak as a
Do
citizen.
I need to go
of
up
course,
there,
yes,
or-
but you can't vote on it, yes, sir. You should come forward as a citizen, yes, sir.
Mr. Rice, you're recognized.
Thank you. So, one of the reasons I recuse myself is because we operate a business, CFC Recycling, that adjoins this property, and we do industrial recycling. For those of you that might have concerns, we have what's called an air burner back there, and we recycle wood. So we burn wood in a machine and make a biochar product out of it so that it can be used as fertilizer or different other environmental reasons. You can use it on your garden, different things. Well, that's what's done. We don't burn trash, but we do. It is industrial property, and it's used for industrial purposes. The rail side's there, and we use rail into CFC Recycling on the metal side, and it is not adjoined to that property as of right now. We own all that property, but that property right there, so we go in front of the water tower. We don't go behind the water tower. We don't have any plans to buy this property as of now, and we don't plan to have industrial traffic anywhere past the water tower at this point in time. But I just wanted to bring it up that we do own that property, is used for industrial purposes, and the only concern we would have if it was residential is industrial right next to residential could cause some issues. Right now we have a buffer between the two, so other than that I don't really oppose the change.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rice.
I'm Christy Glenn. I live at 304 Stewart Street, so we're very near the corner there, which the property you're looking at is going to be across the road. Your buffer, that's not much of a buffer, sir. It's a street, and it's a very busy street. So I really don't think that residential property or commercial property needs to even be over there. But definitely not commercial. We don't need commercial there. And residential, we would, if it is zoned residential, it should be equivalent to what we have, not little Cracker Jack boxes, right next to each other with 0 lot lines. And I've worked in planning codes before for the city of Tullahoma, so I know how it rolls. I really think that you guys should be taking into consideration the people and how we feel about this. And as again, just back to your point, there's just not a buffer there. So I would just hope that you consider that.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn.
Good evening. My name is Mike Emanuel. I live in 219 Stewart Street. And I just basically, Mr. Rice, what you just said about a buffer, there's not a buffer, dude. I mean, all you have is a road there, and if they build an industrial site right across the street from that, that's going to make the traffic, and it's kind of a hill there, so you can't see what's coming when you're going down that road. It's already dangerous for people coming down that road, okay? And anybody here have a canoe? If you have a canoe, Miss Christy Glenn, where she lives, right beside her house, you bring it next time it rains. You can have fun out there because that's how bad the water flows through there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Staff report, Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. Can we go to production, please? All right, seems this isn't working. Any kind of development would not add any additional drainage issues out there. I just want to go ahead and reiterate that. It would probably help ease it. But this is a variance for the future land use map. We're going a request from R1 to C3 zoning. It's 30 total acres, 19.43 of those acres are located within city limits. 620 foot of road frontage along East Lincoln, 2,000 foot of road frontage along Cobb. My counterpart at the Coffee County Planning and Zone, Mr. Kurt Gray, this property actually used to be a zone C2. They rezoned it years ago, but according to him, that they do actually, if they wanted to rezone the C2 within the county, they would allow it. Coffee County, was it C3, also allows for I-1 and I-2 upon review. As you can actually see, it has railroad connection there, so it would make sense for that to be zoned industrial as well. C3 will allow for that upon review. C3 is actually consistent with the mixed-use development that's around it. You have, again, commercial right off of Highway 55. So based on those findings, staff recommends to approve.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush.
Yes, sir. It's 30 acres total. There's 19. Because it's only 19.43 is only within city limits. The other is within Coffee County. They're only actually requesting to rezone that 19.43 acres.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question.
I have some questions too.
Okay. You recognized.
Mr. Rose, why is this being proposed as a variance to a land use map rather than a rezoning?
Exactly. I also got Sam Edwards' opinion on that. That's his first comment, pretty much his second paragraph there. The only way that he can actually challenge this is for you guys to grant a variance for this. So a variance has to be granted beforehand from changing from R1 to the future land use map to C3. If that's approved, and then he could talk about rezoning this. Those are the only ways to actually to get that requested.
Okay, so it would require a zoning request if this is approved.
Correct, and you actually have one before you, depending on this right now.
I understand.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes. So when something is rezoned, or if someone is submitting a request for a major subdivision, we kind of know what the highest use would be for that. I mean, so someone would come with a plat and we would know what we're talking about here. So with C3, what is the highest and best, I guess, use that what could you put in there? And up to what?
Yeah. What is it? You could put single-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, townhomes, townhouses, and multifamily apartments there. It would just follow the normal requirements, which is $3,000 per for apartments. Was it $7,500 for duplexes, and then also $7,500 for single-family. Those would be the requirements for that.
And so what would it be, so if we say yes and rezone this to C3, because in my mind, I guess I know what the R, like R1 or a major subdivision, what is the process with that? How would we know the potentially how dense that could be, or what?
I understand the question. Let's see here. So technically, there could be a total of 286 apartment styles on that 20 acres. That's give and take. Of course, you got to also do drainage and parking and everything else, and you have a height requirement. I don't feel like having to do a lot of math here.
Right,
You absolutely
that
won't be
helps me.
Okay. Because single family is going to be exactly what it was. I mean, I most definitely believe this is going to be apartments. It makes sense for the use, and it kind of does get that buffer for that industry on the back. And, there would be a requirement there, since they did get it rezoned and they're actually developing for some kind of screening alongside that.
And if it were going to use for the highest use, then would that be something then that would require studies on the front end for the engineer, for the infrastructure,
Yeah, so we'll see all that. If it was going to be apartments, we will see that in a site plan, and they will get an engineer, and they will give that all to us. And of course, that would be for investment purposes only. They won't be individually sold. Again, if it was going to be a subdivision, it would already been a subdivision as R1, so we would have seen that. That would have been a major. There would have been a drainage, detention, and everything else. The same thing for R2 as well. So yes, we will most definitely see all that, just depending on exactly what it is, because we don't know. But I mean, unless you want to exactly tell us exactly what's going to happen there, but
yeah, I would recommend or would like to see what.
It was proposed to me for single-family dwellings.
Yeah, like a preliminary plat. I think that would maybe help solidify in everyone's mind. So I guess we haven't seen a whole lot of C3. So I know at least not this size that I'm familiar with. So would there have to be?
just think of C3 as R3 zoning. That's pretty much what it is that it will allow for. So we don't have much R3 zoning, but it's pretty much going to be the exact same for that.
All right. Any other direct questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the variance per staff findings?
In order to have discussion amongst us, we have to have that.
Yes, sir.
I want to approve so we can have discussion.
All right, motion from Mr. Sellers.
I'll second for discussion.
All right. The motion to approve based on staff findings.
Second.
Okay. And second from Mr. Hall. All right, discussion. Mr. Mr. Sellers, is your motion? So
Yeah, so, like I said, I don't agree with this. I think, there's several things that bother me about this. One is that, we're talking about putting C3 right across the street from R1, on two sides. There's a lot behind it. I don't know who owns lot 2. You don't own that one, do you? Lot 2, that's RS1?
That's also the same applicant. Same applicant.
Same applicant, okay, so, you know, that, we've got land here that's either R1 or RS1, and it's right across from all these single-family dwellings, which are gonna be more impacted by changing it to C3 than the industrial side, which they don't care what's there, really. Some of the statements we have in here, like item number 3, that it could be rezoned to C3 because it has an arterial road classification from Highway 55. There is no road across our railroad tracks, and if Mr. Demby was here, I think I'd ask him, but that is a difficult thing to do, is to put a road across railroad tracks to make that accessible from Highway 55. I don't think that's an easy thing to do, so I don't think that should be a consideration for allowing this to be C3. Second is that item number 5, granting any variance in harmony with the general purpose intended of the ordinance shouldn't be in injurious to the neighborhood. And I think it would be injurious to all the people that own the property across the street from them, because probably with C3, we're looking at high-density housing in there as opposed to what was intended, which is part of our land use map, that it's low-density residential. I don't have a problem with it being R1. You can still put quite a few houses in there on R1 with quarter-acre lots, but that is more in line with what is existing there. And it almost puts, if you were to make it C3, put it on an island between RS1 and R1. And even then, the access road on Cobb is very poor. That road is narrow. It's not even as wide as it should be for what we have there. So even if that was to be R1, there really needs to be some consideration there that needs to be widened a little bit to make it safer. So I just am, I'm going to vote against changing this, approving this variance based on the findings or the comments that I have in consideration of the findings that are stated.
any more discussion?
Yes, I too have some reservations about voting to approve this. The main reason for that is to make a change in a land use map. I think you have to have a good reason that's beneficial to the city. And the only reason that I've heard is to increase the marketability of the property. And I don't think that's a sufficient reason to change a land use map unless you know what that particular use is going to be, and you can vote then as to whether it's beneficial to the city for that to happen, and do it in a way that has some meaning. What I would suggest is for the property owner to, if he comes up with a buyer that needs that rezoned in order to get that property sale, to bring that to us on a contingency basis, and then we can vote on that based on what the land use is going to be, and we can really evaluate. The other thing that gives me concern is this number 5 down here that says the granting of the variance is in harmony with the general purpose and is not injurious to the neighborhood. Well, I don't know for sure whether it's injurious to the neighborhood or not, but I know for sure that the neighborhood feels it's going to be injurious. We've seen ample evidence of that tonight. So I will be voting not to approve this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of what's the the verbiage?
Favorable
Favorable recommendation. It's not a favorable recommendation, it's approval of the variance, but.
Approval, yeah. I'm thinking of the other one.
Sorry. Okay. All right, all in favor of approval of variance 238? Aye. Opposed? Nay.
No. Or
No.
Nay.
Oh, nay, sorry.
All right, so that's, and then we have one abstained, so that's 0 to 5 fails. Mr. Worsham, we have a failed positive motion. Do we need to have a negative motion for, do we need to state why and?
Well, I think we had reasons that were stated when they were speaking as to how they were going to vote, so I think that's adequate.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
All right, 0 to 5 fails. All right. Variance 239, the applicant requests a variance to reduce the front yard setback for an accessory structure from the existing principal building line to 15 foot, and the fence height from 3.5 feet to 6 feet along North Anderson Street. The applicant is Tiny Francis. Ms. Francis, you're recognized. Thank you.
My name's Tiny Francis. I live on 406 East Hogan Street. I was just wanting to.
Can I ask you to pause for just a second? Let some of these folks clear out. Thank you. But stay there, just kind of. All right, thank you, Ms. Francis. You're recognized.
Oh, I just want to move my, where I don't like, it's just all front yard. I just wanted to move it over some more so I have some backyard for my shed.
Okay.
We've got pictures, but I don't
All right.
know.
No, thank you. I understand. I don't know about the rest of it. All right, this is the public hearing. I didn't like to invite anyone from the public that would speak on this to come forward now. All right, seeing no one, I will. Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and move to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. Per zoning ordinance 503 requires all accessory structures to be in the rear or side yard only. The applicant is requesting to construct an accessory structure forward the front yard building line approximately 15 foot from the property line, as well as requesting a variance for the fence height from 3.5 to 6 along North Anderson. Both these are along North Anderson. Based on that and staff findings and of course the site triangle that I'll work with the applicant on, staff recommends to approve based on staff findings.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for Mr. Rush? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, I have a question. Okay. I'm going to make sure I understand this right.
Yes, sir.
Is it an existing building that's going to be moved into the current restricted area?
Yes, sir. There's the applicant has 2 accessory structures. As he's built it, I had it. I think I've got a little bit maybe in the staff report. He's got 2 fronts. One's on Hogan, one's on North Anderson Street. Codes cited that there was a complaint, and so we followed up, and he actually moved those. But now he wants to actually get a variance to move those back, and then he will eventually probably need a variance to build a garage there as well, probably in the future. But for right now, we're just doing this. Does that answer the question, Mr. Coleman?
Mostly.
It's an unusual shaped lot. It's got 2 fronts.
Is your evaluation of this considered, this looks like this is happening in 3 or 4 phases, one of which happened already. Have you evaluated the effects of all of these relative to these restrictions on what we can grant a variance for and what we can't?
Yes, sir. And it's been reviewed. And I mean, technically, every single variance is supposed to be individual, but we've done something similar before. So that's based on the same findings. But
Okay.
yes, we're allowed to do this.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mr. Rice.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sellers. Open for discussion. Mr. Rice, you first, if you would like.
No, I see that this is kind of an abnormal kind of sized lot. I would definitely see with two fronts, it's always difficult with two fronts on a property to be able to put any accessory structures due to that, so I'm likely to approve.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Rush, the only thing that I kind of noticed that was missing was a sketch, I think, but.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not working.
Okay,
But I
all
did
right.
have one.
I mean, I'm familiar enough with the area to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But, all right, any further discussion on this? All right, with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of variance 239, based on findings and facts from staff as stated in the packet? Aye.
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 Opposed? And so motion passes 6-0. And the variance is granted. With that, we are adjourned from the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting. So, and we will. Can we take a quick recess? Yes, let's take a quick recess and before we, so 5 minutes. We'll resume at 10 till.
I did not want it.
Yes, sir.
My name is Dr. Salabi. I'm on 99 North Washington Street. So I have commercial property there for 20 years. And currently, occupied by a company called Seizure, which is a company out of the Great Plains. And they are installed on the wood face organization.
You mean the one that's been on the cover?
Yeah, the Cobb Road would be, I'm hoping that.
Nothing now. Yeah.
So let me stop you there.
So is it something on this docket?
I think
Let me stop you there. So you can be clear about this. There will be a public hearing on this. Please come forward and address it.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk to you until it comes up. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, when, which item? Number 5, you said? Okay.
We're about to open up. I know it's confusing because we actually.
So
we're about
we've
to-
got to go through all this before we get to yours. And then you can come up and talk up the podium. Yeah, I think there's a lot of missing. And 30 acres is quite a bit of buffer.
Yeah, I wonder what is the deal with the theme?
The, yeah.
So are we not being, like broadcast?
No, it's just, you can't put presentations up on screen.
Which is a disadvantage to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when coming up on all the stuff we're ready to start talking about.
All right. I will resume the Planning Commission regular meeting for February 19th. And we will pick back up with Section 8, New Business in Subdivision Plats. Number 1, Hampton Estates Preliminary Plat. A preliminary plat to create 15 lots along 4142 Riley Creek Road in the urban growth boundary of Coffee County. The applicant is Mr. William J. Quick. I invite the applicant to come forward or his representative.
Andy Best, land surveyor representative for Mr. Quick. Mr. Quick is here, so he can answer any questions if y'all have any. But what we're looking for is approval for a preliminary plat, like you said, 15 lots, fairly large, 8/10 of an acre. That's the absolute minimum for Coffee County. It's going to be served by public water out in front. All these lots will be septic lots. We are in the process of getting a soil test done for that. There was, we're asking for approval of the preliminary, but it said in the staff notes that based on staff comments. I did have some disagreements with some of the staff comments, mostly from the city engineer. I don't know if that's something that I need to address to y'all, or if that's something I need to personally address with him and have them drop those comments, because I have addressed some of them and they've remained on there as comments.
Some clarification there on my part. So all those comments have been addressed on that final plat? Yes, so that was just for the first one. And then when you got me the second one on 130th.
Yes, so the updated version.
Yeah, I've already pretty much approved that from that.
Okay,
so you're
awesome.
Good.
Then I have no more issues then. Just asking for approval of the 15. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time. Ma'am, you're recognized.
My name is Kathleen Luoto, and I just purchased a property recently at 189 G Road in Normandy. And my main question is where the exit from the subdivision will be. Will it be onto G Road, or will it be onto Riley Creek Road?
Each individual lot will have its own exit.
Okay, but
It just depends on how they exit.
so would it depend on how the house is situated?
Yeah, how the house is. Each one will have its individual outlet. So some of them might be on Gee Road. There's still some stuff that we may lose some lots there. But yes, there will be probably 3 on Gee Road as it sits right now.
Okay. And what about services like I know you said it's going to be public water and septic. What about cable or any other internet services or anything like that? No, that would be up to the homeowners?
That's up to the developer and TUA.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Anyone else wish to speak on this? All right, with that, I will close the public hearing and staff report. Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. It's 4142 Riley Creek Road. It's in Tullahoma's UGB for Coffee County. We're creating 15 lots on 18.96 acres. Lots will be served by Riley Creek Road and Gee Road. Note 22, all lots will have a turnaround / hammerhead, no backing out from the lots on the roads. Electric will be Duck River, water will be TUA, septic for each lot depending on TDEC approval before final plat. All lots meet the minimum side requirements of 0.80 acres, meets all zoning and subdivision regulations currently. Some lots may be lost depending on water pressure. You're approving, 15? So it may go down less than that, but you still approve those lots. So, if you approve 15, you approve 14. Staff recommends approving the preliminary plat subject to all staff comments.
Mr. Rush, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past we have postponed these based on waiting on TDEC's approval.
That's for the final. That's per final plat. That's how we've technically done it in the past. This is just a preliminary.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Motion.
Move to approve.
Move to approve from Mr.
Based on sufficient address some of the comments.
All right, thank you. Very good.
Second.
And second from Mr. Hall. Motion to approve based on sufficient findings from staff. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it also subject to staff comments?
Same
Same thing. Okay. Just wanna
Subject
make
to
sure.
staff comments.
Okay.
All right, discussion. All right. The only concerns I have with this, there was a note in here about water, and that there was no fire hydrants available because there's not sufficient water, and they were restricting the use of how long the pipe can, like 3/4 inch pipe, I think.
It just looks like they're probably going to have to go bigger lots. That they'll probably, 15? They may have to lose down to 9. If Andy, if you want to come up and get some clarification on that.
We were informed about the issue of the water line not having sufficient flow that's in front of the property to be able to handle a fire hydrant. Since then, we've hired a civil engineer who's been working with Dale Willis at TUA, who actually, that TUA owns that water line running through there. He has agreed to back up from that property about, I think it's even on my drawing, the updated one, number 19, note number 19 on my updated drawing. It says, a fire hydrant will be installed by the developer. The proposed fire hydrant will be installed near the intersection of Riley Creek Road and Fairview School Road. The proposed fire hydrant will be located 2,800 feet from the northwesterly corner of Lot 1 as measured along the existing public roads. And so we've already got an agreement from TUA to allow an installation of a fire hydrant. The developer has done it. The developer has agreed to it. The developer has already started talking to utility construction companies. So we are in the process of doing that. So adding a fire hydrant will actually improve homeowners in the area's home insurance rates too, because they will then have a functioning fire hydrant nearby. So,
All right, thank you. All right. If there's no other discussion, I'll call a vote. Let me state first that it's kind of these kind of developments out here on Riley Creek Road, or anything like that, with multiple accesses to the road, and it's eating up the farmland and stuff like that. And I know that that's a concern at the time. So this is I'm under the strong opinion that that development needs to happen in the city. That's where we decided to do development, and that these kind of developments outside the city limits need to be left for farmland, left for larger uses and stuff like that. I'm opposed to this based on that principle. But with that, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion passes 5-1. All right. New business subdivision plats. Number 2, Legacy Preserves, major subdivision final plat. A final plat to create 50 lots along Ledford Mill. The applicant requested to postpone this to the 3/18 meeting, so we'll skip that one. Sorry. And moving on to section B, zoning map amendments. These are public hearings. ZMA 281, a request to rezone the property along Kings Lane from medium residential R2 zoning district to neighborhood commercial C3 zoning district. Applicant is Mr. Darrell Welsh. Mr. Welsh.
I'm Darrell Welch with Hardin Realty, 201 South Jackson Street. I'm here representing the Amadians. They live out of state now. What we're trying to do, we currently have a contract on the property contingent on rezoning from R2 to C3. This will provide a buyer an option to do something more upscale rather than just a duplex setup. So that's what the plan is at this point. Probably something townhome related.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Welsh. All right, this is a public hearing. I'd invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Rush.
Yes, rezoning 1.24 acres located on Kings Lane. The current zoning is R2. The future zoning is C2. The request is C3 zoning. That's that middle ground that we've developed just for this. Has 208 feet of road frontage. TUA power lines are on this property, but they're only 50 foot. Area consists of residential and commercial uses. Right across the street, there is R3 zoning. Meets all the requirements for C3, so vote to send a favorable recommendation to BOMA based on the findings of fact.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion?
Motion to send favorable recommendation based on findings of fact.
All right, motion from Mr. Hall. Second. From Mr. Sellers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0, and that was Hall and Sellers. All right. Item number 2, ZMA 282. Is this the one that's null?
No, this is the one that's still on here.
Okay.
The applicant has withdrawn ZMA 284, by the way.
284. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. ZMA 282. Request to rezone the property located at 2230 North Jackson Street from general commercial C2 zoning district to neighborhood commercial zoning district C3. Applicant is Mr. John Richard Patterson. Mr. Patterson.
Good evening again. John Richard Patterson, Kimley Horn, civil engineer on the site. We're requesting rezoning from C2 to C3 for a medical office building use. C2 allows for hospitals. Because of the size and our use, we fall under medical office building, which is a C3 use. And so hopefully we receive a favorable rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This is the public hearing. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move to Mr. Rush.
Yes, current zoning is C2, future is C2. The request is C3. That's just a hindsight probably on our zoning ordinance in the past that should be included within our general commercial. When we actually go to rewrite our zoning ordinance, which will hopefully be sometime this year. If the Community Planning Development Committee, once they actually get that to you guys, the comprehensive plan. It's 2.92 acres. You got 545 feet of road frontage along North Jackson. You got 380 feet of road frontage along Flowertown Road. It meets the zoning requirements of C3, so staff recommends a favorable recommendation based upon the findings of fact to the BOMA.
All right, thank you. Motion?
Motion to send favorable recommendation based on findings of fact.
All right, motion from Mr. Hall. Second. Second from Mr. Sellers. Discussion? All right, seeing none. I think you answered my question already, is that it was strange that you can have a hospital but not a medical building.
Correct.
So we're working on that, so
Yeah.
great. All right, thank you. With that, I will call vote. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, seeing, motion passes 6-0 with Hall and Sellers. Item number 3, ZMA 283, request to rezone the property along Old Shelbyville Highway from agricultural zoning district to low-density residential R1 zoning district. The applicants are Lauren Wellfield and James Vassar. Sir, you recognized?
Sorry, I don't know if I can move that.
It should move up, but maybe not.
Adjust it. It's going to take my time.
No, you have all the time. You're not timed.
Good. Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have much. I'm Lauren Wingfield. I'm Ian Vassar's uncle. Unfortunately, family issues. Ian's grandpa passed away, who had this property a few years back. Then his mom passed away, my sister. In short order, his dad passed away about 6 months later. And Ian was still in high school. We took Ian in at my house, actually, bring him up here so he could finish high school in Manchester. And he has decided to move up with his sister, my niece, up in Indiana. And so he is requesting a rezoning of this chunk of property that was in his family. I think Grady is here requesting the adjacent other chunk of property that's next to this one to be rezoned. We're requesting a rezoning to residential, hopefully to put in place some financial support for my nephew. So,
thank you.
any questions?
All right, this is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Rush, staff report.
Yes, thank you. We're rezoning 26.2 acres located along Old Shelbyville Road. The current zoning is agricultural. The future zoning is R1 low-density residential. The Planning Commission and both BOMA passed the future land use zoning map in 2023. You'll find Sam Edwards' opinion as well on this, as directed by the Planning Commission. Some freshwater and shrub wetlands are actually behind. You can see that in the National Wetlands Inventory. I included that within your packets. Old Shelbyville is classified as a minor urban arterial, which means 60 to 84 foot of right-of-way. You have 560 total foot of road frontage along Old Shelbyville. Based upon this, staff recommends to approve. It's in a favorable recommendation to Bowman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, entertain a motion?
Motion is in favorable recommendation based on findings of fact.
All right. Second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Rice. All right, discussion on this. Seeing no discussion, I'll move to vote.
Yeah, so I know this property is adjacent to another one that was going to bring up just a little bit later. I guess I don't have a problem with it being R1, but I guess or making it residential, but I guess I have concerns about where we're going to be going eventually with this. And that is that if both these properties are zoned to R1, and hopefully this is something we're going to address as a commission about densities out in this area. This is out away from the city. If that were to be, if both those properties were R1 as we have it today, you could put 150 homes in there, even with having area for water, wetlands and such. That's a lot of traffic on that little road, Old Shelbyville Highway. And I don't think we haven't addressed infrastructure about how we're going to handle this, because there's several other properties that could possibly be rezoned. So I guess, I don't have a disagreement with it being residential, but if it's going to be high density residential, I think that's something we need to address before it gets to that point.
Right, it's not high density residential. It's
low density residential is, to me, 150 homes in those two lots is still high density. So that's something I think we need to address soon. I think we're going to have a discussion about that, but.
Just a small correction there. Technically, both of these are about 50 acres. So as much as they'll probably be able to get in, it's probably going to be just shy of 100. And especially they've still got that wetlands in the back, so they're going to lose lots for sure. So I would
More
take
like
a guess.
100 or less?
Probably about less than 90, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. ZMA 284 is null, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Applicant
so we
pool.
will, it's null based on the failure of the variance. Move to item number 5, ZMA 285, a request to rezone a parcel located at 911 North Washington Street from C2 to C3. Applicant is Mr. Wayne Horton. Sir, you.
This is Larry Horton. I live at 329 Helen Street. This house has been in our family for 50-something years, and we don't know when it got changed to C2, and we'd like to get it changed back to a C3.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, this is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time.
Hello, I'm Nader Sorabi. I'm an owner of 909 North Washington Street. The property adjacent to the south side of the subject property, 911 North Washington Street. We ran a closed-door pharmacy for nearly 20 years at this location, and is currently occupied by Visual, the long-gone and face recognition company that Tullahoma City successfully relocated here from Brentwood, Tennessee. I would like to see the subject property stay zone C2. C3 zoning would allow for multiple family, and I don't believe this would have a positive impact on the area. There are currently 4 Tullahoma businesses operating on this block on North Washington Street alone. from my building all the way to Kings Lane, Washington Street is comprised of industrial, warehousing, and appointment-type professional and medical offices. Potentially allowing high-density housing in the middle of these businesses, I feel, would be a step in the wrong direction for the growth of Tullahoma. Thank you very much. I also have a letter from Mr., he couldn't be here, so I have a letter from Mr. Cameron Ray. He's a CPA, and he's opposed to it too. I have a letter from him.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, this is just, for the record, this is from Cameron Ray. My name is Cameron Ray. I'm the owner of 925 Washington Street. Sits on the north corner of the subject property at 911 North Washington Street. I'm opposed to the zoning change from C2 to C3. I believe the zoning change would allow multifamily dwellings and consider that to be non-conforming zoning to myself and other nearby business neighbors. Anybody would like to see that? Sure. If he'd emailed me, it would have been in the same place. All right. All right, with that, any other comments? Sir?
My name is Wayne Horton. I live in Ester Springs, 261 Elk Laurel Avenue. I'm the brother, and we've owned that house since 1967. Those businesses moved in there. We didn't invite those guys there. Those businesses came into our neighborhood. I just want to put that out there, that we want it from C2 to C3 because it makes it more versatile for us as homeowners.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, close the public hearing. Mr. Rush?
Thank you. What is it? The lot is 17,500 square feet. The current zoning is C2. The future is industrial 1. So C3 also allows for single family, but also upon review of I1 and I2, so it fits the future land use map. Currently, it sits a single family house. You would be hard pressed to get anything other than that single family house on there right now. It's got 63 foot of road frontage. Again, you could only build one house on that along North Washington Street and 70 foot along Davidson Street. You couldn't really divide that either as it sits right now. The immediate area consists of mixture of residential and commercial use. Based upon these, staff recommends a favorable recommendation based upon findings of fact.
Okay, thank you. It's for clarification, it is currently non-conforming?
It is a non-conforming use that's continued to be used as residential right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, entertain a motion?
Motion approved based on findings.
All right, motion.
Second.
Mr. Sellers, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion?
Yeah, I know Charles, we addressed a good number of homes that are currently in C2 that got changed at one point. Was this one that we neglected to get to, or what happened there?
There's quite a bit that we still have to address. If we probably redressed all that, we would rezone 200 something parcels. So we targeted the 50 that we had known originally. That was the previous planning director, and I agreed with those. We'll continue to actually address these. It seems like applicants are seeking us out. So now that we do have that C3, we're allowed to rezone as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? I'll call the vote. All in favor to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, ZMA 286, request to rezone a parcel located at 0 Old Shelbyville Highway from agriculture to R1. The applicant, Leona and Grady Vassar. I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward this time.
This is Grady. He can't hear you for his hearing aids, so if he can't, I'll answer for him, okay?
Okay.
My name's Grady Vassar. I own the property next to Ann. I'd request that you rezone it to residential. So I'm kind of downsized. I'm 77 years old, and I need a downsize, and with your help, I'll get that accomplished.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. I invite anyone from the public to come forward this time. Seeing none, Mr. Rush.
Yes, it's 26.28 acres that we're rezoning. The current zoning is agriculture. The future land use zoning is R1. Both the Planning Commission and Tullahoma passed the future land use map. Again, I'll refer to Sam Edwards' opinion on this. There are some fresh water and shrub wetlands in the back. They've got 583 foot of road frontage on a minor arterial road, 60 to 84 right away there. Staff recommends send a favorable recommendation based on findings of fact.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Entertain a motion.
Motion to send favorable recommendation based on findings of fact.
All right, got a motion from Mr. Hall.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sellers. Discussion? All right, call the vote. All in favor of to send a favorable recommendation? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And item number 7 has already been addressed. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Charles?